too many people. Waiting for Larx. I'm gonna share
Players
it.
in queue. Man, show.
Alright, I sent out the link.
Nice. Beat. Now I kind of want to have chicken nuggets now.
It's chicken nugget stream. Alright, I got the live chat up. Oh, I think I got it up. Larx, did you ever finish your ninja hunt log? I'm judging you with that Galnat behind you. Might as well save it when you need to level up more.
Okay, so in my defense, when I did Ninja in Realm Reborn, I had no time for this.
Well, we'll just wait. I'll just remind you when we're leveling up from 80 to 90.
Good, because I'm probably gonna need that reminder.
But like, make sure to take down your level 29 Galnats in each shroud. Because what does it give you other than just XP?
Where did I quit? Where did I quit back in the day? So I got to the 3rd rank.
Oh my god, I've completed every single one of those shits.
I gave up.
Yeah, they only give you experience, so doing it now will give you nothing. So
Oh yeah.
might as well just wait until it'll give you like dinky experience, but at least it's something, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see, it says two. Are you in chat? I think the 2 people might be us.
2 people in chat, and we have Gay Baby.
Oh yeah.
I was getting a couple seconds for people to get the link.
Yeah. It was a 30-second delay.
Yeah, usually 30. When I checked my video, it gave me like a 15-second delay, so I guess it just kind of depends. Oh, good. I'm glad you have a Caesar salad. Zuaya has chicken nuggets.
That's a good. I like Caesar salads a lot. Yeah, this is chicken nugget stream because my chicken nuggets arrived just as we started out.
It is the food stream. It's Ala Mhigo featuring chicken nuggets and garlians.
We all know the Garlians invaded Eorzea for chicken nuggets.
For chicken nuggets.
You see, the cut content from Realm Reborn, instead of Gaius saying such devastation, he says such McNuggets. As he looks upon a whole horrid pile of McNuggets that's been stashed in northern Thanalan.
Alright. I should get enough time for the links. Alright, so hello everybody to our 3rd episode of touring around Eorzea. I am Larx, and I am here with the small and angry Zuaya.
Yeah, I'm eating McNuggets.
I was gonna say such McDevastation.
Such McDevastation.
Oh dear God. Oh boy. There's no coming back from that one.
I mean, we've memed the hell out of the Praetorium already. Might as well just keep doing it.
This is true.
Oh,
Whoa!
frick!
Oh!
Well, we were in somebody's quest.
Oh my goodness.
Let's just move up close to
This
Baleful
stream is
Wall.
already starting out great.
I know.
Whew. So today, in the last one, we toured Ishgard and a little bit around the Holy See. Today we are going to be exploring the lands of Gyr Abania, most likely the city-state of Ala Mhigo, and kind of also give like a little bit of some history surrounding the Garlean Empire, because Ala Mhigo was heavily taken over from the Garlemald, and this is probably the best way to introduce them, especially since we can't go to their land Ilzabard yet. So this is probably like the best introduction we can give at this time of this stream. Let me get on my mount. So kind of like what you see, we are currently in Gridania. Let me put a map up. So we have the Black Shroud here, and the reason why is because in order to get into Gyr Abania, you have to go through the mountains of Zephatal in order to get into Gyr Abania. But there's also a new thing that also popped up between the two city-states, and that is this huge wall. I think it's kind of dark out, so you probably won't be able to see it too much, but you can probably see like a little bit of an indention. Unless there's like a
There's the
better
lights
way.
on.
There are some lights.
You can also do the skyline. That's how far the wall reaches. That's just the gate down there.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me see if I can fly up a little more. It's kind of hard to see at night, but there's actual like a ironclad wall that goes all the way around, and that is known as Belzar's Wall. And when the Garleans conquered Ala Mhigo, they formed this huge castrum known as Castrum Orions. And it's kind of like their way of guarding Gyr Abania from the Eorzean alliance and from rest of Eorzea.
Gaia said was like, I'm gonna build a wall.
And it's gonna be great.
I'm gonna make the Eorzeans pay for it.
Oddly enough, you're able to do a dungeon that goes through Balezar's wall. During the story, we'll be able to explore it. However, we can get past this wall currently if we just fly down here to this man.
What is this Elzen lady? Is she an Elzen? Who is it? It's the one down below, right?
Yeah, this guy right here. The Serpent Officer.
Oh, it's an Elzen dude.
Elzen dude.
I thought you were a lady.
You're traveling to Castrum Orions? Yes. So here we are in Gyr Abania, and this part of Gyr Abania is known as the Fringes. Whenever it feels like loading, of course. There we go. So here we are on the other side of the wall.
Oh yeah.
See if we can get
Isn't the quest called Over the Wall?
Yeah, I believe so.
I always remembered that because I was like, hey, my favorite TV show.
Let's see if we can... So it is kind of
you can now see the lights in the fog.
Oh boy. Hopefully we'll get a better view. The weather's not working with me. But yeah, this is on the other side of where we were. And you can kind of tell even in this kind of cloudy weather that it's very daunting. The Garleans paid like no amount of like, we're terrifying. And it like goes for miles.
The Garleans like to erect big, imposing structures to make sure that we know how big their dicks are.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're massive.
Huge. Just like their dreams, their ambitions.
Oh gosh. Sid, yeah, Sid is definitely got a big dick. That's for sure.
No, unfortunately, we're not
But
gonna be seeing
I'm
Sid.
Larx, I'm stuck in some trees. I'm
Wait, where are
lost. Where
you?
are you?
I don't know.
I don't know. I
Wait,
was trying to find you, and I got lost in trees. Oh, you're by
oh,
the wall still.
there you are.
Oh my gosh. Where is Sid at this current time? We can't visit him, can we?
No, we
He's somewhere.
cannot.
Stick around for next week. We might live stream the next ruby weapon, sapphire weapon, whatever weapon it's gonna be. Emerald weapon? My chaos emeralds.
My emeralds.
My emeralds. That's a Sonic joke. We need to keep it to Final Fantasy jokes.
Oh boy.
So like, again, we're probably gonna be passing through this area during Stormblood. I don't want to take too much away from His Majesty. I guess we'll just avoid like where the Ananta live, because that's more in game during Stormblood. But, I mean, one thing that always impressed me about this area is that there's this transition between the Gridania area into the more dusty, sandy area of Ala Mhigo territory. I always loved all these trees, even though I just got stuck in them a minute ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one thing that I actually really liked about this part of the map, was that you still get a little bit of hint of Gridania, and the more that you transverse into the forest and you see the actual area of what the Fringes is I really love that part, especially when I very first played it for the first time. I'm like, wow, that's actually really pretty cool. But this part of where it is known as East End, because where we get into with Belzar's Wall, it was in the East Shroud, so it's like the ending of the East Shroud to Gyr Abania. It also has was a part of Gridania, because of the wall. It's no longer part of it. It's also where the stage was for the Autumn War, which happened many years ago, but it was a war between Gridania and Ala Mhigo.
It was pretty much, was it the thing that kind of weakened relationships between Ala Mhigo and the Eorzean Alliance?
Yes.
And therefore, when the Garleans started to march in, they received no help from Eorzea.
Yep.
Which Eorzea was like, probably was a bad idea not to do that.
Yeah.
But as soon as Gaius was like, I'm gonna build a wall, and they're like, that's
huge.
Oh, you can see it better now. The fog has disappeared.
So here's Belzar's Wall. Here's a better view of it.
Yeah, that's a fucking big
Now
ass
you can
wall.
see how kind of like intimidating that is.
Yeah, with all the lights on too, like it's a bit imposing.
Yeah, and it stretches for miles.
It's midnight right now in Eorzea, so probably in a half an hour, no, a little less than 10 minutes is gonna be dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly though, I like the starry sky with all those red lights.
Yeah. That's really pretty. Like, terrifying pretty. So I'm gonna walk, I kind of want to show you guys how it kind of feels to go from Gridania to actual, so we're gonna go down the path.
I'm gonna refresh my feed. I'm always having a hard time with the live streams chat. I'm gonna post something. Maybe it'll... Oh.
Oh, and you can also see the moon. Hello!
It's not appearing in mine, hold on. It's different settings. I'm in live chat right now. I'm trying to be like one of the folk. One of the, This is why they have chat administrators on those fancy YouTubes, don't they?
Oh
Am I a
yeah.
chat administrator? This is what I become. Oh, can we talk about the legacy of Albani
Oh
X and
yes,
Leshy?
please, please go ahead.
So back in the day, this is pretty famous. When Stormblood was first launched, they were still trying to figure things out. Like, this game started off pretty small compared to other MMOs, mostly because it did get a bad rep in the beginning. So Stormblood was one of the first ones where we ran into problems because so many people were joining the game. And there was, at some point in the questline, where there was a chokehold of so many players because it sent them to this instance out in Gyr Abania. And it would cause a lot of crashes in people's games when they got to this certain point. After talking to Raubon, I was right here, next to these grizzly bears, and this Leshy that I'm currently standing next to would constantly attack players because they were standing in line trying to get a way past Raubon. And then there was also the fate Dizzy McGrizzly, or Dizzy Miss Grizzly. And people would be tempted to do that fate because they wanted to level up, because we were all, you know, getting from a level 60 to 70 at that time. And somebody made a guide called Raubon EX about how to pass this chokehold. Eventually Square cleared that up. I think it only lasted about 24 hours, but Jesus, I miss things like that. That stuff was
It like
funny.
literally stopped you from like doing the main scenario for like a little bit. It was really interesting. It's really funny because like you would click on him and you would think that it would be loading, and you think that you're actually going to be able to go in, and all of a sudden it kicks you back out, and you just sit there looking at Robot and just like, why Robot? Why have you forsaken me?
Yeah, at one point I'm gonna like read off the Raubon EX guide, but maybe I'll do that when we actually get to Raubon EX. It's no longer an issue, so you just now click on him and do the thing. Like, now they've prepared nearly every area since, like, in any expansion they release afterwards with instances. There's usually 3 instances per area. And sometimes it's a headache because you gotta link to people like, hey, I'm in instance 2 or instance 3, not, you know, that one. But, it's way better than having, like, issues with the client like we did back in the day.
So this area that I got us into is one part of East End. This is known as Dimwold. Dimwold is actually a really interesting place because every time you walk into Dimwold, you'll get a gloomy atmosphere that's happening. It's also drenched by the waters of Tim and Beck and numerous subterranean springs. The air beneath the bow is laden with moisture, giving rise to a constant veil of light, smothering mist. It's also an area where it has Fletcher's cabin, where if you do the White Mage quest here in Stormblood, you get to know more about what Fletcher's cabin is and why it's so isolated and everything. You can actually see it right here out in the distance. You can kind of see a little bit of a cabin. But it's actually a really interesting area. A lot of lore to it too, but most of it is also kind of spoilery. Not too much, but just enough where it's just like, once we do Stormblood, you'll be able to see more of it. It also, in the forest, also contains the area with Pike Falls. It's a majestic drop between the East End and when the actual Gyr Abania begins, and it's a big waterfall. It's a massive drop. It's probably like a lot of Ala Mhigo say it's one of Gyr Abania's wonders as well. And it's also named for the resemblance to the pikes favored by foot soldiers of the original Ala Mhigo army. So let me fly over there and we'll show you the cutoff between the forest
Do we want to talk about like some of Ala Mhigo's history while we're out here? Like, there used to
Sure, we can
be,
discuss a little bit of it.
yeah. So prior to the events of like just a realm reborn, these are all things that are well established. Ala Mhigo was a kingdom ruled by a king. His name was Theodoric, and he pretty much became mad. I'm not quite. Does the lore book go into detail about why he just
A
flips a
little
switch?
bit.
Like
I have to find it.
the order of monks is pretty important to this storyline. They originally served this king, and he had their order pretty much almost wiped out and destroyed, and they were part of the Ala Mhigan army as far as I knew. Or maybe they were just a special task force or something like that. The only thing that's kind of left over from the Ala Mhigan army is the Corpse Brigade, which is out in southern Danaland. They're now more just like criminals and what do they call it, brigands. They got rejected out of Little Ala Mhigo because they were known as the army that served the king, and it's kind of a sore spot to Ala Mhigans out seeking refuge. And it's mostly because after this king sort of started to overthrow things, fuck the Corpse Brigade, yeah. The Corpse Brigade is also known as the area where you're gonna get griefed quite a lot.
Oh yeah.
So much grief.
Yeah.
They kill me all the time when I'm lower level. But there's also a lot about them that they have a very dark history. So the Ala Mhigo kind of became weak because of King Thornton, or Theodoric. Dang.
Theodoric.
There's a lot of like there's Thornton and there's Theodoric. Yeah. And it kind of led to the takeover from Garlemald. Not completely because of it, but Garlemald like knew that they were in a weakened state, and they launched their attack precisely at the right moment. Now, I think there's more to this. I think the Ascians might have been involved. Of course, they're always trying to tip the scales in some direction.
Oh yeah.
But nothing in my lore book says anything about it.
Basically, what I can say, Ala Mhigo, was actually founded in Eorzean time. It's about 1135, so it's kind of around of the 6th Astral era by Anselm Cotter. Ala Mhigo was a fortress city, built along the shores of the Larx in Gyr Abania. The citadel was guarded against invaders from Ilzabard, and it also controlled trade between Eorzea and the Near East, which is Near East is kind of mostly like city-states like Dalmasca, Nagshia, but we'll discuss more of those as we get closer to those areas. Most thing that Ala Mhigans are most renowned is for fighting prowess. Mostly stuff like the job of the monk is really covered here in Ala Mhigo's histories. Let's see.
They really appreciate punching things to the face.
Yeah.
And I mean, based on interactions we've had with Ala Mhigans and pretty much the whole nation, and they're a very hardy bunch. They live out in rough conditions. The way I describe it is like they're almost like Scottish Australians sometimes. Like
That's one way. That's one way to describe it.
I don't know. Sometimes I try to figure out, like, obviously Ishgard is like such like, what is it? Gothic, Roman cathedral Catholic, French based. It's very easy to pinpoint. Ala Mhigo in certain areas have like kind of confused me.
Oh,
Simply
yeah.
because we got a lot of like Middle Eastern influences. The Ananta have kind of more of like Indian and what is it called? I can't think of the art term for it. But there's kind of like a mix of different architecture styles going on, and then like when you try to pinpoint some of the culture, it's kind of murky. I've always had a tough time like describing Ala Mhigo.
Yeah. So actually, I'm gonna go down this path, and you will see what Gyr Abania actually really looks like once you get out of the forest. Behold! This fate!
This fate.
This fate!
At least nobody summoned a tree or something this time.
So here's what Gyr Abania really looks like. Pretty much a bunch of barren ruins. And a Garlean, a Garlean area between the bridge, just in case you needed to know the Garleans are here.
Yeah, since the Garlean takeover like 20 years ago, the Ala Mhigans have been constantly in resistance to the Garlean rule. We learn a lot about this, sort of, in Realm Reborn plotline when we enter Little Ala Mhigo. We learn from all the refugees. They're the ones who like fled from this area into Eorzea. So they're kind of hoping to continue the resistance out in Eorzea because it's hard to do it within Gyr Abania and the Ala Mhigan territories. Mostly because Garleans just have control over everything here.
Yeah. You will see a lot of Garlean influence.
Disagree with their rule. So, I know, so I got here in my lore book, like, the rise of Garlemald, and how, like, Garlemald kind of came into... Well, like, it starts right off the bat about Ala Mhigan forces and everything. Let's see. Yeah, so this is a little bit about the Autumn War when... Yeah, so the people of Ala Mhigo wanted to extend their influence into the Black Shroud, which eventually erupted into the Autumn War. Gridania was like, no, this is our territory, and Ala Mhigo was like, no, we want it, so we're gonna take it. And Ala Mhigo almost won. But Gridania called the Eorzean alliance to their aid, and that included Ishgard back in the day, because Ishgard hadn't closed its gates. So the Ala Mhigans had to deal with fucking Ishgard. No wonder they damn lost after that. I'd say the only crazier motherfuckers other than Ala Mhigans are fucking Ishgards. Like, you put Ala Mhigan and Ishgard forces together, and you just got like a concoction of damn crazy. Like, there's two city-states I really don't want to fuck with, and that's Ala Mhigo and Ishgard, and especially Ishgard, because they look at dragons and go, I'm gonna fight that. So, if they don't even fear dragons, like, if your army has to face up against those motherfuckers, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So, between Ishgard Ul'dah and Limsa Lominsa coming to Gridania's aid, yeah, Ala Mhigo was just fucking squashed. And, yeah, pretty much as quickly as it began, they fucking ended it really fast. And then...
What's funny, though, is after they tried to take the Shroud and failed, Ala Mhigo was like, let's go to Kurthis. And then Ishgard, actually, this is how the very first Eorzean alliance began before the Umbral Calamity. This is when they very first designed to make a alliance between all of them. And then once they tried to go to Kurthis, Ishgard actually petitioned for an alliance for the city-states. And the answer called, and Gilbert, who was the one that was leading it all for Ala Mhigo, they were swiftly defeated. And what's really funny...
So was this before the Autumn War, or did they...
This was after it.
So they didn't quit after they got their ass beat in the Autumn War with Gridania? They were like, we're gonna go fuck with Ishgard more. What?
Yeah, after Gridania gets aid from Limsa and Ul'dah, Ala Mhigo's like, well, that didn't work. Let's go to the Kurthis lands. Now, mind you, Kurthis at this time isn't a snowy hell. It's just, a bunch of mountain terrain.
Yeah.
But when Ishgard caught wind of this, they actually called the other city-states, formed the Eorzean alliance, and finally brought Ala Mhigo to its knees. And what's even funny is that they realized that the things that they were using for currency, which is like the Allagan pieces that we use in the game, were outdated, and this is how Gil was created.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Ala Mhigo's like, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Don't fuck with us dragon fuckers out here in the north. Like, we're gonna kick your ass.
Yeah.
But like, it also solidifies in the past, like the Eorzean alliance has been a very powerful entity when all of the city-states start to gear up. Because when it's just one, like when it's just Gridania, even when it's just Ishgard, like Ishgard alone can't protect itself. Mm-hmm. But when all of the city-states come together, they are quite a formidable force and almost undefeatable. For some reason, they just have a hard time sticking together.
They do.
And that's their biggest weakness.
It's all that petty politics and the basements. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard to keep all of the city-states independent with their own rulers while also trying to work together. Because while the city-state leaders seem to be pretty much friends, their people are not. So, like, Gridanians still will have problems working with Ala Mhigans, even though by this time Stormblood, we're like, okay, we gotta team up together to get, these Garleans out. They're still, like, bruised egos and stuff from the Autumn War. And, like, Ishgard also during Heaven's War is just kind of like, we hate outsiders, and, it's just kind of like, can we please get along? Like, you're going to die without help.
Yeah, you'll when you're in Stormblood and you're doing some of the quests, you will get a little bit of resentment from Twin Adder soldiers. They're like, why are we doing this? Why are we helping our enemy?
Yeah, because like, the war is still within recent memory. Like, there are people who are still veterans of that war. All of this stuff has happened that it could be feasible that somebody's still alive that remembers that time period. We're not talking about ancient history anymore, like at the time of Ishgard's founding. We're getting into, like, recent, history that's happened in Eorzea. Now, like, the Autumn War, I think, took place maybe, like, more than 20 years ago, 25, 30, I don't know.
Probably a little bit more because the Garlean Empire was recent.
Yeah, like, the Garleans, though, they took over fairly recently after those wars, or those skirmishes with the city-states, because, I mean, god damn, like, messing with Gridania and then going on to mess with Ishgard, like, what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
But, I mean, also within recent history, though, Garlemald was founded. It was actually a pretty recent, empire. Because it was started by Solus Galvus, who only towards the it was like in the middle of Realm Reborn, does he actually die of old age. So like the first ruler of Garlemald is still alive, technically, when you begin the game, but it kind of happens off screen, and we just kind of know that Garlemald's having some issues with government, but that, it's all stuff that's happening in the background. And it's not too important to the Realm Reborn plot line, and it's not even that important until we actually get to Stormblood, that, they finally got another established ruler, and we know him pretty well, Varus.
So in the year 1557 of the Sixth Astral Era, Ala Mhigo fell to the incursions of the Garlean Empire. So it was a kind of little bit of a time difference between Autumn War and then the Fall.
Yeah, because Garlemald had to be founded, and then it had to take over pretty much most of Ilzabard. And Ilzabard is an area we have still yet to be able to explore in this game, because it's just all Garlean territory, and to walk into Garlean territory without being a Garlean citizen is like suicide. So we usually stay out of those areas. You want to move into Rogler's Reach?
Yeah, we can do that.
Rogers
Yeah,
Reese
so
isn't it?
20 years prior to the start of the game, Ala Mhigo was embroiled in a civil war against the tyranny of Theodoric, the King of Ruin.
Hmm.
This kind of chaos in its own, like, royal family led the invasion with Gaius van Belzar, who was part of the 14th Imperial Legion of Garlemald, um, was pretty much defeated, like, instantly through Garlia invaders. Those who would not submit to Imperial rule, they fled west and south of Aldenard, while those who remained either submitted to the rule of Garleans or formed the Alamegan resistance. So, a lot of what you would see in Ul'dah when we first journeyed there, you saw a lot of Alamegans. When this all happened, a lot of them, dispersed into many lands. A lot of them went into the Black Shroud. A lot of them went into Ul'dah, or a lot of them just pretty much just stayed and decided to form the Alamegan resistance to fight against Garleans. However, at this time, the Alamegan resistance, it, does a really good defense for Ala Mhigo, but really, with the sheer might of what Garlemald brought into here, especially the thing that we're showing you right here, this is Castellum Venodia, which is another insult for the Garleans to be like, this is you're gonna be under Garlean rule, and this is what your life is now.
Yeah, they pretty much, when Garlemald marches into the territory, they try very, very fast to assimilate everybody into Garlean society and culture. But that doesn't really happen overnight because a lot of people are just bitter and angry about it. And Ala Mhigo in particular fought tooth and nail. Even after 20 years, it's still like Garlemald's having a hard time. And I mean, we can also talk about, who's responsible for the Ala Mhigo takeover. We were just talking about his wall earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's Gaius von Balsar that takes over Ala Mhigo and erects the wall. This is kind of part of Gaius's plan of, I'm going to take over all of Eorzea, because Ala Mhigo is like the first step, because it's kind of the territory that's right in between Ilsebard and Eorzea. He takes over here. He's got a very strategic point to launch his forces into all of Eorzea. And I believe it's when he takes over Ala Mhigo that Charlayan also takes its stuff and goes back to the mainland, right?
Yeah, the conquest of Ala Mhigo was a huge, seismic wave across pretty much all over Eorzea. It was pretty much the signing definition of pretty much fear of, are we going to be conquered next?
Yeah, the Eorzea knew, oh crap, if we're not careful, Garlemald can take over Gridania next, and then Ishgard, and if they have those two places, the rest of Eorzea is fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, this is when he flies his Agrias ship around until Midgardsormr gets angry and tells him to fuck off, and that's literally the thing that makes Gaius go, It's Midgardsormr. He goes, that's a big fucking dragon. But
I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's so this is kind of 1.0 information. It's kind of glossed over in A Realm Reborn in one cutscene, and it's not very clear. I remember being kind of confused when I was first playing it, but more explained in 1.0 because I believe, did it happen in 1.0? Or was it just... When did the Silver Tear Swallows incident happen?
Oh, that would be 1.0. Well, it wouldn't happen in 1.0. It happened before 1.0. It was right before Final Fantasy 14 really started.
Right around the 1.0. Sorry, that was a chicken nugget burp. Chicken nugget street. Gaius tries to fly his ship into Eorzea after conquering Ala Mhigo, and Midgardsormr comes out of the lake and says, fuck you, and destroys his ship. Now, unfortunately, Midgardsormr also dies in that endeavor, or I should say just his body does. Midgardsormr is a very powerful dragon. He's a bad bitch. You can't kill him. And so that makes Gaius kind of retreat back into Ala Mhigo a little bit more and kind of go poof until Project Meteor comes around. But even he's not really in charge of it. It's Nail Von Darnus that comes in saying, "Move over, bitch, I can do this better." And Gaius is like, "Fuck you. Nobody can conquer Eorzea except me." Yeah, so a lot about this area also has to do with, Gaius and his, big giant war strategy and how he has big galaxy brain, I guess, so... Unfortunately, he can't contend against big giant ancient dragons way older than he is.
Yeah. Oh, it's oddly enough, I think the conquest of Ala Mhigo is probably what gave him the title Black Wolf, too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was this campaign that earned him quite the degree that we come to know him with. I believe, I don't know, I think it was because of the icon summoning, aka the primal summoning, that he ran into issues with, and he didn't quite know how to, take down primals, and I think it was Solus, the Emperor, that told him to just be like, hey, lessen up on Eorzea, let's just come back and, regroup. And that's why Gaius becomes so obsessed with, how do I defeat primals? How do I get these icons out of the way? And, he was obsessed with them in 1.0, and then he's even more. It's, pretty much his driving force in, A Realm Reborn. Alright, so you want to talk about the center of resistance?
Yes. So, for the Ala Mhigan resistance, they needed a place, to have a place of headquarters and stuff. So they found this place known as Rhalgr's Reach. Rhalgr is pretty much another, what do you call it, deity?
Yeah, he's a deity of the 12 pantheon.
Yeah, kind of like what we saw in Ishgard with Halone. The statue that you see right now, that is Rhalgr. That's what they believe in.
Yeah, Ishgards love Halone, Ala Mhigo loves Rhalgr. They love him to death.
Yes, they do.
Maybe not as much as Ishgard. I think Ishgard has, an obsession with Halone, whereas they're like, yeah, Rhalgr's a really neat guy. We're gonna make, giant statues of him.
Yeah.
Ishgard's like, oh, you got one statue? We're gonna put 12. Actually, we're making a 13th now of Halone. Also, here's some more dragoons. Have we shown you our dragoons? They're everywhere.
Dragoons? In my Final Fantasy?
Yeah.
So the Ala Mhigan resistance was first founded by the man known as Curtis Hext. Don't want to give too much about him, only because Curtis is going to be someone that's going to be not in the main scenario, but he's going to be directed with it. But just know for this that he is a founder that started the actual resistance. Other leader to Althornar after Curtis was Conrad Kemp, which we actually will be able to meet and talk to once we get into Stormblood. So he's someone that is really interesting. There's another person that also heads the Ala Mhigan resistance, but we'll find out who that is as we continue into Stormblood. Mostly the Ala Mhigan resistance are the patriots. Gaius. They're unable or unwilling to submit to imperial rule or assimilate into the other city-states. The resistance wants to fight the Garleans on their own terms, and this is kind of where they're like, we don't want help. But it's because, one, they're bitter about the Autumn War, and two, Ala Mhigo is pretty much a very, kind of like Ishgard, a very stubborn nation, where it's like they want to be the one to have all the glory and seek power. However, what they find out in Stormblood, as things prolong with the occupation of Garlemald, eventually they have no choice and need that more power with the Alliance. And that's kind of what Final Fantasy XIV shows, not just in Stormblood, but as we go into the game, is you trying to bring the nations together as one. And that's something that you see a lot during the game. And I think they do it in
Yeah,
a very good way.
big theme of it, or I think a big goal, I should say, that Warrior of Light has. I mean, it's not like something that Warrior of Light like wakes up one day and be like, I'm gonna do this. Like, it's more like it just kind of arises, but it's like slowly over time, it's like you start to realize that the only way Garlemald is ever going to be put, you know, in an equal spot, like, because right now, at the time of Realm Reborn, Garlemald is a pretty hefty foe to go up against, and just getting a single nation against it is not enough. Even 3 nations, it wasn't enough, and even at 4, it still wasn't that much.
Yeah.
So by the time Stormblood, you're like, maybe 5 or 6 will be enough. And even then, you're like, maybe we still need even more.
Maybe we need more.
Yeah, I'm gonna go up to the beautiful scenic area. Actually,
Okay.
why should I walk there when I can use a mount? Oh, it's Halloween time when I use my broom.
One of the other cool little tidbits about the Ala Mhigo resistance is before the Garlemald came, the resistance was actually formed to be able to overthrow King Theodoric. But once that was all said and done, you know, the resistance had a new goal, and that was to bring back Ala Mhigo back to its glory. Whoops, if I can actually get on the bridge. There we go. So this symbol right here is the symbol for Rhalgr. And then you have the statue right here. Above Rhalgr is actually a temple, known as the Temple of the Fist. That's where the monks would actually be doing all their training at.
So you want to know a fun fact about Zuaya?
Please say as I fell off the bridge and landed in the water.
Oh well, we can showcase swimming, I guess.
Swimming!
But the Rhalgr, I chose Rhalgr as her patron deity at the very beginning, simply because the symbol looked a lot like the Black Mage symbol.
Oh, you're right, it does.
I thought it was going to be a deity that Black Mages would worship, but I was like, oh, it actually would make more sense if she worshipped Nalthal. I just didn't know anything about Ul'dah history at that moment. But, yeah, so when I first began with this character, Rhalgr was Zuaya's patron deity. I think it had a little bit of influence about how I connected some of her backstory to Ala Mhigans, with her grandma and stuff. But mostly it was because I was so impressed with Little Ala Mhigo. So Little Ala Mhigo solidified that part. But yeah, there's a little fun fact. Zuaya does not worship Rhalgr, though she worships Nalthal. Just like any other Eorzea, I think she does worship all 12 of them. It's just Nalthal is like her go-to deity, you know? But maybe she appreciates Rhalgr a little bit more than the others too. She definitely doesn't like Halone. I don't know why that might be. You know, technically she's born under Halone's moon though, so Halone has a lot to do with her character, whether she likes her or not.
So actually at this little area, there is actually, I believe, you probably won't be able to read it, but there is an actual, like, I guess I don't know if it's a poem, but at the Fist of Rhalgr, where the tablet is, there's a saying on there, and it says, "A storm of blood approaches fast, hells open, heavens weep, for no one's soul doth lie beyond the measure of his reach." Hence the term Rhalgr's reach.
Yeah.
But yeah, this area was also with the Rhalgr the Destroyer. Over the course of its centuries, disciples of the Fist of Rhalgr worked away at the rocky cliff, carving it back to create this colossal image of the Destroyer. By virtue of its size, it is said to have stood defiant to the Mad King's savage attack on the temple, and stands watch over Rhalgr's reach to this day. But, unfortunately for the Temple of the Fist, which used to be the birthplace for the monkhood, during the time of King Theodoric the Mad, the Temple of the Fist was gutted with fire. So pretty much the Mad King just wanted to purge anything in his name. The more we learn about him, the more of a great guy he is.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like the architecture of this place. I've always had a hard time pinpointing it down. I'm pretty sure it's definitely got Eastern influence.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think it's Tibet.
I think it could be like a mixture of quite a few things.
Yeah, I don't think they like tried to settle on one certain style.
Here's some Ala Mhigo resistance members.
Wait, show off the chocobos. I like how they're
Oh yeah.
they're dressed.
See if I can find one around here. I think it might be on the other side. But yeah, this guy what he's wearing, this is mostly what Ala Mhigo resistance wear. A lot of it is the symbol of the griffin, which is one of the mascots for Ala Mhigo. But you mostly see them be wearing all this. And they usually wear... Either they wear a lot of, like, lancer weapons, and they also have a lot of monk weapons, too.
Oh! We went into monks, but I forgot to talk about the other important technique that they train. They have a lot of pike wielders in Ala Mhigo. In fact, their pike battalion was really famous for being probably like the best in all across Aldenar. But yeah, we don't have the pike class, so they usually put them as lancers in the game. But yeah, you'll usually see a lot of lancers, mostly because they train pike wielders. Now, I had to actually research the difference between a pike and a lance, because there is a difference. Let me look it up.
See if I can get...
Just like how you can't call the halberd a lance. So, usually there are pole weapons, but they're kind of, oh man, I have a picture up right here. They're a lot more just like a stick that just comes to a point. And I think they're longer than lances. See, like here's another thing. Like when we need to talk about like historically versus Final Fantasy Land, like it could be different because Final Fantasy Land gets to do what it wants. But it is written in a lot of the lore books that Ala Mhigo trains a lot of the best pike wielders in the land. Now this has kind of been diminished since the war and since the Garlean takeover, that I don't think that there's many of like the traditional pike wielders anymore. But yeah, that's just a little fun tidbit about Ala Mhigo.
Here's the chocobos. Yeah, those are flamingos.
Yeah, I like the Ala Mhigo chocobo outfit.
I do too. I actually never like really looked up at that close, but it actually really looks nice.
I had my chocobo wear this outfit for a very long time. I really like it. Alright, any more places we should talk about?
We could go up to the temple. I forgot which way you go to it.
Oh, it's by where you usually talk to the leaders by the tent over here.
Oh,
the big
okay.
giant leader tent.
Oh, well, I'm right here. So there is a beast tribe that is in Gyr Abania. They are known as the Anata, and they also have joined with the Ala Mhigo resistance. And this is one of the very first few times that you see a nation and beast tribes working together for a common goal. Because most of the time you see in the other three city-states, they're mostly treated as lesser people. But however, in Ala Mhigo it's a little bit different because everyone just wants Ala Mhigo to be back to where it was. And so you have beast tribes like these, like Anata, who are actually working with the Resistance. And I really like their design too. It's like Snake Lady.
Yeah, I absolutely love them. I love their designs. And like, their designs are definitely like based more on like Hindu-esque stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ala Mhigo just again continues because like when you look at the people, they don't look Indian. They don't look Middle Eastern either. They're all very white. But then the architecture, and then they have like accents that range from, you know, being kind of Scottish to Australian. Like Ilbert's kind of Australian.
Sloppy.
I'm not a very big like not a very big resource when it comes to, you know, accents and stuff like that. But that's how I always figured
Sloppy.
it.
See if it's up. Yep, it's up this way. Okay.
I'm alright at the temple. Yeah, this is definitely some Middle Eastern design. I just can't figure out like what era.
Here's
it
a good
definitely
logo.
does look a little bit Islamic, but not that much.
Here's the logo for, or at least the banner for Ala Mhigo. It has the griffin with the sword. Hoping to find one.
Yes. They're very big into griffins. Where Ishgard is like very into chocobos, they're very into griffins around here.
They like griffins.
They're like trying to have a contest with Ishgard, be like, well, we're hyper focused on griffins rather than chocobos, and Ishgard's like, well, we made chocobos fly. They're like, cool, our griffins already flew, so we're gonna build our big giant statue of Rauger now. And Ishgard's like, fine, as they're carving their 14th, you know, Alone statue.
So this path is leading up to I'm having a brain fart for some reason. Temple of the Fist.
The Temple of the Fist.
Yeah. And this is really pretty.
I didn't realize these guys were standing around here. I didn't know they still existed.
Oh. So if you ever did Monk, this is the Monk guy.
So, Beatergelt is a very important character if you do Monk, and, yeah, there's a reason why he's standing around here. He, you know, likes to do Monk things. But we won't go too much into that, because that's, spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to show off this little area.
I'm having the hardest time, like, getting the live chat to just refresh. There we go. I think I got it back up. This area is very pretty.
Just monking around? Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, so, this temple is one of the last, kind of intact temples that the monks would practice their discipline and, study. It's very typical what you think of a monk temple would be. They came in and meditated quite a lot, and then they beat each other up with their fists.
You know, just monk things.
There's a whole dungeon we'll be going into that goes into more of the history of a particular monk that used to live.
Alright, so the peak is actually right here. So the other part of Gyr Abania is known as the Peaks. And it's actually a really interesting area. I think it links, yep, right here. So we're gonna head right into
I see
here.
Hachin. Yeah. Last thing about Rauger's Reach is that when we get into the Omega storyline, this is where you'll usually find Sid and Nero kind of hanging around. They'll be here for a while.
Oh yeah.
This is their is it headquarters of operations. Which is one corner that the Alliance or the Resistance corners off of them, like, here, I'm gonna push them right over here. So we're immediately thrown into this old thing, which I believe, this was again another monk temple that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, King Theodoric ordered to be destroyed.
Once again, great man.
I know, yeah, he really had a freaking beef with the monks.
Yeah.
And it does make me sad because can you imagine if the monks had been like the Knights Dragoon, where you just had like a whole bunch of like silly monks going like woo. See, if I'm going to go anything by the Dragoons, they have like this badass lore of being, you know, spiky dragon slayers, and then you meet a bunch of them in Heavensward, and you're like, Jesus, they're all goobers.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wish we could have had that with the monks, but it's like, there's literally next to no monks anymore because of what happened.
Yeah, it was pretty much almost obliterated.
Yeah, like, there's like, literally only a handful of survivors, if less than that. Luckily, if you're a Warrior of Light as a monk, there you go. You help bolster their ranks a little bit. The Knights Dragoon also only have like a handful here and there, but they're at least a military operation in Ishgard that, you know, usually Albric's trying to train another Dragoon every once in a while, and I mean, I think the first requirement to become a Dragoon is just to slay a pretty good dragon. Like, not one of those weaky, you know, easy to kill dragons, like an actual big dragon. So if you kill one of those, the Dragoons are like, perhaps you would like some training and jumping. And you're like, hell yeah, I want to jump. Yeah, I'm not really sure too much about the process of becoming a monk, as according to Ala Mhigo, like, wait, I can consult a book. Yeah, go ahead and tour around while I look this up.
So one of the big things about the peaks, back in the day, was able to be an area where a lot of trade, when it was still profitable, was pretty much a hub for caravans bound for the Near East. This is where they would mostly travel. It used to be a lot of place where, especially in the area known as Alagana, it used to be a big, like, what should you call it, like, almost like a merchant area. But, you know, with everything that's happened in the Garland Empire, as we go over to Alagana, you'll see that here in the peaks and even in the fringes, everything is just, like, destroyed. It's just pretty much in ruins. One of the other interesting things about the peaks is the ziggurat, which you see kind of over here in the distance. Let me fly a little bit closer over
That's
to it.
definitely Hindu architecture. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
one thing that I can be like, okay, I know for sure. But actually, no, I'm thinking about something else. Oops. No,
Uh-oh.
as I'm looking at it, it's kind of a mixture of that and Brazilian architecture.
So yeah, this is the ziggurat.
Mayan.
There's a lot actually here. It's really pretty much buried kind of in lore, and it's something that you really have to like do research on. But the Sixth Umbral Calamity pretty much wreaked a lot of havoc here, here in the ethereal flow, giving really unstable like weather patterns. Trying to correct that disturbance, descendants of the Andapori and the Mach, they actually set aside their differences between white magic and black magic, and they actually built the ziggurat together, which served as a weight to still the land's writhing currents of ether. So even in their, you know, time of rebellion, you know, both white mages and black mages, you know, there was some common ground in certain areas, and this monument is pretty much one of those things that is kind of shows the resemblance of what black magic and white magic could do if they weren't always in feuding, pretty much. There's also a other thing that links with the Sixth Calamity. I believe it's somewhere around here. It's known as a boat. It's a boat, and I think it's called Nurix. I'm gonna butcher this name. It's like called Newick Ref's Hope. Let's see if I can find it. It's somewhere around here. Wonder if it's up a little bit higher. I think it's probably up higher. Let's see if we can find it. Well, you'll also notice in the peaks as we get higher up. Oh, there it is. You'll also see another Garlean area. This is known as Specula in Praetorius, which is the little gate area that goes into Castrum Abania, which is pretty much one of the castrums that rises in the eastern edge of the peaks. Shortly enough, after the Battle of Silvertear Skies, Gaius was not eager to repeat the disastrous fate of the Agrius, and ordered the construction of a cannon capable of repelling even the most gigantic of adversaries. So he learned from Midgard Simmer, and he's like, I'm gonna make the biggest cannon you could ever imagine.
I'm gonna shoot that dragon straight out of the sky and shoot its rear its ugly head again, like... Ishkar got nothing on me, I'm gonna make a big gun, like...
It's just gonna make a big-ass gun.
Nidhogg better watch himself if he comes this way. I got a big fucking cannon. Well, it's because of this cannon though. This specific cannon, like.
Oh, you can actually see it out in the distance where Castrum Abania is. Right in the distance, you can see a cannon.
I mean, that gun is huge. Well, I mean, that's the reason. It's the exact reason why nobody can just come waltzing into that area. Like. It's not enough to gather a huge army and just be like, ooh, we're gonna take over all the territory Garlemald has. It's like, they have all these stations that's like, okay, you can't just walk up to that gun's gonna annihilate you.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, someone, you know, comes by.
Right. So this boat,
fear guns or dragons.
Right?
He's like, that doesn't intimidate me. I don't know how to read. Like,
joke's on you. I can't even read. So this boat, they don't talk about this boat this much. It's here.
They really don't. They don't.
The only thing that we know about it is during that Sixth Umbral calamity that we were talking about with the Ziggurat. When it befell Eorzea and the realm was transformed into a sea, this great vessel built by a man.
Because the elementals were angry, they flooded all of it. It was pretty much think biblical times flood. That's what happened here.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like a Noah's Ark kind of reference, because it's a man hailing far from the north. Oh God, and here's his name again. Newcliff. Oh God. Oh, Final Fantasy, give me names I can pronounce. He saved many lives with this ship, having taken aboard countless souls drifting in the floodwaters. It was finally transported by magics to its current resting place. So they just left the boat and they're just like, bye.
I guess everybody's like, I don't know how to contend with that. Also, I don't understand why, but there seems to be like these magic ruined. I don't know, are they rams? Are they... I don't know, there's some sort of animals.
It's...
like, over here.
Let's see.
And that's never really explained unless the lore book has something.
No, it doesn't go much into it.
I did look up that stuff about monks, by the way, and pretty much the monk order was founded when a bunch of warriors came together in devotion to Rhalgr, and they formed the Fists of Rhalgr, and that temple that we were previously at, that was pretty much where they came to meditate and practice their arts. Eventually, their numbers became so great that they became included into the Ala Mhigan army, but King Theodoric was never comfortable with that. He didn't like how powerful they were, so that kind of led to his descent of like really hating the monk order, and mostly born of fear. He knew that if there was ever going to be a force that could take his crown, it was going to be them.
If I didn't know any better, it sounds like you're just saying Ragnar in a really pretentious accent. You
No,
know,
it's Rauger.
it's Rogger now. Oh, speaking of
Yeah,
that cannon,
so
here's that big cannon.
yeah, we don't know anything about that. Yeah, so Gyr Abania is pretty much protecting Ala Mhigo, and it's really because of this giant gun, but also the castrum itself that is just this giant barrier uh, into Ala Mhigo.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to go showcase Ala Mhigo?
Oh, I don't know. Are you ready to see Al Mhigo? Are you ready
I
to witness the great lands of Ala Mhigo? I think I'm going
man,
the right way.
I
Yeah, I'm going the right way.
oh no. We're just gonna have like a lot of bad luck with the weather. Like instead of getting like a majestic view of the city, we're gonna get like it looks like freaking Castlevania out in the
Oh
distance.
God. Well, here's some foreshadowing. Yeah, we are not lucky with weather today.
Over here is where I talked to Amorith during the quest line, but he's not here. I miss him. We need to free him from his office.
Let me see if let's go into G pose. Let's see if I can make it
I'll
brighter.
talk to. Is there a Chocobo weather lady around here?
Let's see.
I could just go to eorzeaweather.com.
Okay, maybe weather. Well, maybe if I change the filter. Well, let's make it even darker.
Let's see.
I can get it kind of bright in G pose, but it's not.
We're gonna have fair skies when the weather turns over. That's still
That's
gonna be a
good.
bit.
The pipes,
Yeah.
the Almegan pipes are calling. Yeah, so I have to wait till the weather gets better. Oh wow, what a difference I did in G pose now. Ooh. So yeah, this is known as the Larx. The Larx is what's guarding around Ala Mhigo. Basically, it's a
There's a lot of salt.
lot of salt. This
There's
is
just a
probably
lot of.
where all the
That's all I can
Ishgardian
say
salt
about the
comes
logs.
from.
All of the salt that came from Ishgard fell off into the lakes here. Like, I mean, I'm not even lying here. Like, this is where most of Eorzea farms for their salt or whatever. Like, they get
Yeah,
it from Luxled. This is also why I'm like, this is where this is where I get the hints of Scottish from, because loch is the word for lake, and this is the lake. I just, again, Ala Mhigo confuses me.
yeah.
But yeah, they have an export of salt here. They even have the saltery, which is, I believe I'm flying to it right now.
I heard the bagpipes, which was the joke. Is the music different during the day? Yeah, so the music that I'm at right now is the nighttime version of the Larx. Daytime Larx is a little bit more like more of an anthem. Usually a lot of nighttime areas, they do a piano ballad. And then during the daytime, they have like more percussions and a lot of more dramatic music. But at nighttime, they do a lot of piano versions of the songs. And I always find that enjoyable, especially if you go into like a dungeon or like a boss fight. They use that same song and make their own song different for what part of the area, what part of the fight that you're doing in. So like you get nighttime music of this, you'll get a more bagpipe this, or if you're like fighting something, you're gonna get a more dramatic song of it. And props to Soken and his team with music because they do a phenomenal job making
Yeah.
music and reusing music and making it a newer version of it.
Yeah, that's something to always remember. Well, unless if it's Realm Reborn, like pretty much every overworld area, the song that's playing in it is going to be the dungeon theme too, just remixed. They're really good at their remix
They
songs.
really are.
But this area in particular is very well known for its very dramatic theme. Like,
Oh yeah.
I have a hard time listening to it for too long because it just gets to be too much after a while.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a there's always a few songs in every expansion where everybody's like, "Oh God, this theme again."
Yeah. So this map kind of gives you a little bit of what the Lox is, and it's just, pretty much what Zuya said. What Loch means just means lake. The lake pretty much is in the middle. On the left side of the map, you'll get something known as the High Bank, which is occupying the western reaches of the Lochs. The High Bank features a level path which extends to the banks of Loch Seld, and from there to the city proper. Conversely, the west half of the area rises into precipitous mountains, the heights of which can only be accessed via steep and winding roads. Now, a lot of maps in the expansions, they do a lot of ether currents to have your mountains be able to fly and you have to look for them. When you're walking through the locks, it's really, really terrible because there's a lot of stuff where you have to go up, down, lots of windy, narrow paths. The locks is out of everything probably in Gyr Abania. It's probably the most dangerous because there's so many mountains, so many cliffs, and right at the end of the cliffs and the mountains, you get a lake of salt, and then you get the palace on the
Oh.
right. Um, Mostly the area that we first entered into was known as Porta Praetoria. It was formerly a checkpoint along the main high road to Ala Mhigo. It was incorporated into, unfortunately, the castrum for Abania. Prior to the Garlean invasion, the area bustled with merchants bound for the Near East. Mercantile endeavors have since gone way to military ones. So Ala Mhigo's probably its biggest thing that it had for it was trade for the Near East, going to places to like Dalmasca, even to parts of Ilzabard, and even to Nagsha. Ala Mhigo is probably the city-state for Aldenard, for like Ul'dah, Gridania, and Ishgard, and all of them, to get imports and trade with Ala Mhigo to them, and then Ala Mhigo would trade to them. And so when everything started going to what its course was of with the Garlean Empire, as well as the Autumn War, it pretty much for the longest time put a huge like wall between Eorzea and the Far East. It caused a huge like detriment of trade. I mean, trade was still going, but not as much trade as what it used to be before the Empire really like took over. In the middle, we also pretty much have the Loxel, which is the lake. It's a saltwater lake of pretty much impressive size. It's also surprisingly deep beneath its flat surface, and we'll swim down there and kind of show you a little bit of it, um,
Gosh.
which is pretty much
Have we
dark.
showcased much of the swimming? I mean, the swimming was introduced in this expansion, so.
Mm-hmm. There's also a murky bed underneath the locks is known as Scala, which is a city of stone back in the 5th Astral era. The Calamity's floods filled the ravine in which it was built, scouring the salt from the earth and forming an expansive body of briny water. So like just what we saw in the peaks with the ziggurat and the boat, the reason why we have the locks is because during the calamity of the flood, this is one of the effects of what that calamity did. It brought in Loch Seld, and then because of the land being so, rich in salt, it became known as a salty lake. Then, all the way up at the north, which we'll actually travel to. Oh god, it's still really dark out here. Let's see if I can
Yeah, it's
find
not
it.
gonna be until
The top
I think
northern
midnight.
part is known as Abalathia's Skull. This region lies at the eastern extreme of mountain ranges, which stretches across the continent of Aldenard. As the expansive Avilas' spine was so named for resemblance to the realm's backbone, it follows that the knot of its end must perforce be the skull. A lot of this area is a lot of where the royal family would be kind of laid to rest, basically. You'll see a lot of tombs and a lot of like crypts around this part of the locks. It's really dark. I'm trying to find like some like areas. There's also some like the tomb of King Manfred, who was a monarch who reigned in Ala Mhigo. King Manfred often led his own troops into battle and was much admired for his bravery, with the custom of honoring the dead fallen out of practice. However, it is rumored that the region's disgruntled spirit has risen from its grave. A lot of Ala Mhigans believe this part of the locks is haunted, and a lot of people believe that a lot of spirits reside here, so not many people really go here.
It is haunted, though.
It very much is.
It's freaking cursed.
It's so hard to see in this rain.
Hopefully
I can find one.
Just wait until Eorzean time of midnight. They say it's gonna change over. Yeah.
Oh, it's almost there.
So, I want to talk about some fun things about Ala Mhigo.
Here's some crypts. Here we go. Found some.
So,
oh, look, and this might be a ghost.
I mean, there's always ghosts in there. And there's a lot of, like, side quests, I think, that take you over there. There's, like, it's ghosts. There's ghosts over there. There's always ghosts.
There's ghosts in the mine hills. Oh, there's a lot of them right here. And into here. Yeah, there'll be more crypts down that way.
So, listed in the Encyclopedia Eorzea, their industries in Ala Mhigo is mercenary work and magitech manufacturing. Like...
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, from what I know, there's a lot of Ala Mhigans when they fled into Eorzea, they usually became, like, adventurers and usually swords for hire. Like, a lot of muscle are Ala Mhigans. Especially if they arrived somewhere in Ul'dah, because Ul'dah, that's one of the only ways you could probably make coin as an Ala Mhigan. But, see, so when Garlemald took over Ala Mhigo, the Ala Mhigan citizens were not made into Garlean citizens, because in Garlemald you have to earn your citizenship. And that's through indentured servitude. So when they took over, pretty much everybody who started to work for the Garleans pretty much became indentured slaves. And so now they work a lot on magitech and magitech factories. Hence why, you know, they're really not very happy about the takeover. Because it's like Garlemald comes in and then they don't even like give them citizen rights. They're just kind of like, nope, you gotta earn it now. It's like, we didn't fucking ask for this, you piece of shit.
Yeah, if you want to look at it, the Garlean Empire pretty much just treated Ala Mhigans like slaves.
I mean, yeah, like... It's because whenever they do a takeover of any territory, they view the outsiders as just savages. They're less than what Garleans are. And even then, like, if they're not pureblood, you know, Garleans, aka they have the third eye, it's still like you're a lesser citizen for it. Like, you may have earned, you know, some sort of prestige by becoming a citizen if you're like one of any of the other races, but to get very far in Garlean society, you need to be a pure-blooded Garlean. That's why whenever we do see Garleans that have had some influence, like Nero or Cid or Lucia, like they've all been pure-blooded Garleans. And For like Biggs and Wedge, though, they're technically Garleans, but they knew they were fodder for the Empire, and that's why they didn't want to stay in the army.
Yeah.
And you know, Biggs and Wedge are Garleans, but they're a Lalafell and a Rogan, so it's an example of like they came from territories that were taken over, and then they got citizenship through some means, and I think one of those ways is, you know, serving in the army. But they were sitting in there going like, frick, we don't want to die for some country that doesn't give a shit about us.
Right.
So they deserted their posts and came along with Sid to Eorzea, because Sid was like, I don't like this country either. Like, bye. Don't like being evil. So we got the weather out of the way, but now it's still nighttime.
At least it's easier to see now.
Yeah.
So yeah, here is the capital of Ala Mhigo.
So the racial distribution of Ala Mhigo is 60% Highlander here, 10% Hellsguard Rogadin, 10% Midlander here, that's you, Larx. Seeker of the Sun Makote, 10%, and everything else is also just 10%. So, I don't know, I don't really see many Lalafell in Ala Mhigo at all.
Yeah.
Definitely not any, like, Al Ra.
Alright, so let's take a peek underneath that water. What's in the lake?
You'll never believe what's in the lake. It's like Eorzean clickbait, like they went under the waters of Loch Sled. You won't believe what they found.
Alright. Hold your breath, because we're going in! Okay, clickbait.
I don't know where you are right now. I went underwater, but I'm like...
Are you on a yole?
I'm on like a sheep.
Okay, I thought that was you for a second. I was like, oh, I think I found you.
I just went underneath the water, just full force. This is huge. I see the person with the yole.
That is not me, unfortunately. Wait, what am I? I'm Shiva Pony.
I don't see your Shiva. Are you underneath the water?
Yeah, I'm underneath now.
Oh, you must be far below.
So these is the ancient ruins of Scala, of what we're seeing. And I have no idea what these are, but I really love these little snowflakes.
Oh, they're
Are they salt flakes?
they're salt ether concentrations, salt crystals.
Salt crystals, there we go.
But you know how like crystals, the magic crystals, like they form in earth and water and fire. They also do salt. So like the magic concentration around here just happens to be pretty extensive, and so they formed salt crystals. But not salt crystals as we know them on Earth. Salt crystals as Eorzea knows them.
Snowflakes.
Yeah, and if you held your breath long enough, you can enter the city of Scala.
Oh yeah, this is the entrance. Funny enough, it's a bubble.
Yeah. Man, like, just swimming with your character, though, you just get a sense of how massive this place is.
Oh yeah. The mood down here is like, kind of gives you like a chill down your spine feel.
I'm swimming with Zuaya. I want to watch her little legs kick around.
Let's see, what's over here? Oh, just stalagmites.
There's some gathering you have to get. There's something off in the distance that I always thought about. Oh yeah, come over to where I am with this statue. Or maybe
Okay.
you're already there.
I'm almost to you. Oh, there you are. You like face planted into my screen.
Oh, look at my little lava feet.
Look at Zia swim.
Yeah, there's tons of these statues. I think there's still more that are buried underneath here. And then what is that in the distance? That's just a salt formation?
Yeah, that's where a bunch of like stalagmites are.
Hmm.
The smallest and most deadly shark.
Yeah, unfortunately Zuaya can't cast fire under here. You know, I think if you wanted to defeat Zuaya, you'd have to, like, bring her underwater. She wouldn't be able to fight much.
Yes, they actually do explain why we breathe underwater in the expansion.
Yeah, before Stormblood, Warrior of Light would drown.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's only a few characters that can actually be underwater for extended periods of time, and one of them is Alize. Alfino can't swim, and we're gonna always have him remember that.
We'll forever remember
Yeah.
who you are.
We're always gonna bully Alfino. He deserves it. Because he's a special boy. What is this cavern?
I haven't explored too much of this place. See if there's any on this side. Alfino has to wear water wings. I hope in some way in this game Alfino has to wear water wings because I'd be really happy about that.
He's trying so hard to learn how to swim. And it's mostly because he doesn't want to embarrass himself in front of Estinian. He's just like, I can't have him dunk on me anymore. I have to be an adult. And it's like, he doesn't know it, but Estinian's like, you're forever going to be a small kid to me.
You're just a small boy.
Forever. Estinian's gonna be 4 years old. Or yeah, he's gonna be 4 years old and now Alfino's like finally an adult, and he's just kind of like, you're still dinky, forever.
Yeah, in the Stormblood expansion, you'll be able to explore these three areas: the fringes, the peaks, and the locks. The expansion goes a lot more into these zones. They're just trying to limit as much as they can because the story actually shows a little bit more. I can show the middle area up here. Go to the palace. And there's also the Ala Mhigo quarter that will show too.
I made my way up through the salty lake to where we appear out of that hole
Oh,
to get into Ala Mhigo, the sneaky way.
the sneaky way.
I can't remember. Did Thancred come with us on that one? I remember Thancred's like, I can go because I can hold my breath for a very long time, and he's just very proud of that fact. I believe that's also where all the blowjob jokes came from, because they're like, oh,
Oh,
you can
boy.
hold your breath for a very long time, Thancred. He's just kind of like, 10 minutes. They're like, wow, 10
Wow.
minutes.
Alright, so this last area that we can explore, this is actually the Ala Mhigo quarter. A lot of Ala Mhigans, when the Garleans took over the royal palace, this is probably where the worst case of I'm going to be treated badly was at. A
It's
lot
the
of
capital city.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of Ala Mhigans were pretty much, if I remember correctly, it was kind of like they were all treated into like sections of like each area of the quarter, where like only certain people could be in at this certain time. They were just treated like like cattle in the Ala Mhigan quarter. This is probably like where the blunt worst of it all, because they had to live it every day.
Eventually, I would like to explore like all of Ala Mhigo, because this is just like 1/4 of the actual city.
Mm-hmm.
The expansion doesn't really go too much into the capital city as much as I would have liked. But it's mostly because they had to split it up into 2 continents, because this is only 1/2 of Stormblood. The other half will be in Doma in the east. Where I feel like more of the story actually explores that area than where we're at currently.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have predictions that we'll be coming back here in the future. It doesn't really feel like everything's kind of resolved up here. It definitely won't be like a main story thing, but we're thinking kind of like Ishgard Restoration. It's a pretty good prediction about what's about to happen to this place. They've had a very major war, a couple of wars actually come through here, a lot of it being civil strife. Feels like we're gonna need, you know, the alliances, maybe the Warrior of Light, to come together and kind of like get some unity going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But so reading up on Ala Mhigo, how this place was even formed in the beginning, it all comes from the Great Flood that happened during the 6th Unwell Calamity. And knowing our history, that was started by the mages of Mach, Nim, and Amdapor. But a lot of that calamity and the war between Magi does have a lot to do with Ala Mhigo. Strange considering like it's a lot of magic, but there's not really much stock in magic in Ala Mhigo, with the exception of red mages, which the practice of red magic was formed here after the flood came through and devastated everything, and pretty much the land had to start anew, just like what happens after every calamity. Some practitioners of white magic and black magic kind of came together in secret because both of their arts were made illegal at the time. And they decided to share techniques and history with each other, and they formed red magic out of it. So there was actually a handful of red mages that served in Ala Mhigo, but more prominently was the monks. But I believe there were like clans that kind of feuded for a while until finally one clan like just won out. And again, this kind of brings some hints of like Scotland to me, you know, how the Highlanders, I mean literally the Hures that make up most of it are called Highlanders. So it kind of reminds me of some of that culture of, you know, battling between clans to take over the name, and pretty much the biggest clan or the biggest, baddest clan gets to have rights over who rules. And then so finally, like, when Ala Mhigo was established proper, then they decided, you know, they wanted more pieces of Eorzea, and started the Autumn War. Oh, it was King Manfred, I think.
Mm-hmm. It was, yeah.
Oh, I see it here. So was Manfred Theodoric's father, or did Theodoric just come?
Let's see.
They just say Theodoric the First ascended the throne.
A lot of Ala Mhigo history is really hard because they don't really really show you much of it. It's mostly like buried under like, well, you just kind of have to like look.
Yeah. But pretty much weakened by the war when Theodoric purged the Fist of Rauger, he continued to kind of try to weed out traitors. He was just very paranoid. And so the people of Ala Mhigo were fed up with this and decided that they were going to overthrow the palace. And it was during that time when they finally did. They overthrew a really shitty king, only to have even shittier people to come in. Because that's when Gaius was like, nailed it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to go into the history of how Gaius actually pulled it off. Let's see. Oh. Gaius literally just set up troops to the north, and then as soon as the king met his fate, he just swarmed the city and just took it over. Probably mere moments after they finally overthrew him.
Probably, yeah.
Gaius is brutal.
Gaius is a very brutal man.
Oh, I didn't know Gaius became the first viceroy of Ala Mhigo. I just thought he was, you know, the general who just took over the general area. He's
Makes
like,
sense
here you go,
why the wall is named after him.
Yeah, but I didn't know, like, he was actually viceroy. That meant, like, this territory was his. Just like, because isn't it, at the time of this game, it's Xenos who's viceroy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, at that point, they're like, well, Gaius is dead. Like, bitch, you thought.
He also created the Crania Lupi Regiment from Ala Mhigan-born individuals who came of age, born to maintain control over the country and to generate loyalty.
Where's the freaking page on Gaius?
Right.
Actually, before I get into that, we can talk about the Garlean Empire, because that's the next page over here.
That is a good idea. I'm gonna go to the Ala Mhigan Quarter because the daytime music came back. I want that, like...
It is really strong.
It's very strong, and after a while, it's like, whoa, boy.
Yeah, so the government is ruled over by an emperor. For a while there, it's Solus Zos Galvus. Eventually becomes Varus Zos Galvus, who is Solus's grandson. But there is apparently a large bureaucracy. Politics in Garlemald is very structured and very strict. And because of that, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me the lists of, oh god, I turned the page. The social hierarchy is 2 pages long? No, it's 1 page on mine.
1 page long, but it's a lot.
Like, you got categories of royalty, military, specialists, public officials, citizens, and then non-citizens. And pretty much whatever is stuck as, like, quote, the middle name of a Garlean. I'm calling it a middle name because I can't remember the proper term for it. But it's a marker, it's an identifier, you know? So, Solus Zos Galvus, Zos denotes him as Emperor of Garlemald. And I believe Varus is Varus Yig Galvus, because he was, oh gosh, what does it say? Consanguinis Imperialis? Jesus, it just means Imperial Prince. Holy crap, is this just I'm looking at this for the first time and I'm like, oh no, this is worse than my actual history books.
It's really rough. It's really rough.
We got Zosh, Ye, and Weir. Weird in royalty. Oh, that's the Imperial Princess. Jesus. So Nero's name is Nero Tolskeva. He's really high up on the Tribunus. Holy crap. There's literally only one rank above him, which is Gaius von Balsar, you know. Characters with Von in their name are pretty much just the highest commander of the military. But yeah, Nero's just one step below that. I don't think we've met many people. So here's Nan. That's the Chief Imperial Magitech Engineer. That would be Sid. That's the top senior office in specialist category. Oh boy. Pretty much at the lowest of low for non-citizens is marked with On. I don't think we've met any Ons. I mean, I guess if we had met Biggs and Wedge, which, fun fact, Biggs and Wedge are not their true names. They took those names when they came into Eorzea to disguise their identities. Because if they are found by Garlemald, or if Garlemald knows they're there, they would be murdered. So I would have to assume that, I mean, I guess they'd probably be, like, lower citizens, so they'd probably have boss in their name. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, there's like, sample position. So, like, your job. Like, what Sid was Primus Architectus Magitecti. Lots of Roman, whatever.
That's crazy.
Oh, boy. So, let's see. We got the Imperial Court of Garlemald, which is pretty much the royalty. It's the Emperor and his wife, and then whatever heirs they have. But, like, according to what's happened in Eorzean history, like, succession isn't just simply, oh, it's the firstborn son or whatever that gets the throne. It's complicated about who actually inherited anything. Like, But then there's also the Senate. Well, I guess the Senate ruled Garlemald during the days of the Republic, but it's been diminished in recent times. Oh, it still serves as an adversatory role to the Emperor. Oh. They got titles like Fae, and highest ranking Princeps Centus Ilia? Ilia? Jeez.
Yeah.
The Senate also holds the power to remove the magistrates, but has yet to use this right. Oh, the Magitech Academy! We gotta talk about the Magitech Academy. There's a whole short story about it, but it's not really... Other than Nero, like, doing his big giant sob story at the end of Rome Report. Like... So, like, when Solus, like, made Garlemald, he also was like, I'm gonna make a Magitech Academy, where it's going to be, you know, the best place for people to learn about how to make this technology. And it's kind of like the MIT of pretty much all of Heidelin. Like, it's pretty prestigious, really hard to get in, and usually you have to be rich or have very prominent family to get in. Now, Nero didn't come from that, which is kind of what made him special. He came from the country, which is... It's funny realizing he's a country bumpkin. He got admitted based on his pure intellect alone, and he got in on scholarship. Meanwhile, like, Sid also got in on scholarship. He pretty much had the brains to match it. He didn't just get in because he was rich or that his family was rich, but he definitely did get in because his dad was very well known, and I believe he was the senior Chief Imperial Magitech Engineer, like, before Sid took his place. And then he was like, nah, I don't want it. But yeah, apparently it takes 6 years to complete the courses at the Magitech Academy. Phew. Sidnon Garland and Nero Tolskeva are counted among the Institute's alumni. Can you imagine them having, like, an alumni speech?
Oh boy.
To some graduation class later on down the line. I'd pay money to see that. I'd be
I
like,
know, right?
like,
I pay for
go
expansion
here.
for that.
I know. The Sid and Nero shit show talk. The expansion. Man, it's an entire expansion just about that.
Can you imagine the class reunions? Oh boy.
Ugh, boy. School reunion. I think at this point Sid might have missed it. How long has he been away from Garlemald? Been more than 5 years at least.
Yeah, like 5, 6, 5, yeah, about that, yeah.
I guess the 10-year reunion would be coming up, like, later. Jesus. Oh, absolute dumpster fire. Like, yeah. Like, it can't be complete unless if they actually are like, oh, how about we get both Sidnon Garland and Nero Tolskeva? They were both of the same graduating class. You know, like, yeah. This will be even better than just having one or the other. Let's have both of them talk. So the problem is that Sid would just outright refuse. He'd just be like, no, I want nothing to do with that. Because Sid is a smart man. Yeah, exactly. So what is this blue gold they have listed here? Oh yeah, and fun fact about Garlemald, probably the only place that has harsher winters than Ishgard is Garlemald.
Yeah.
Probably why we need the Ishgards to help us break into Garlemald, because they're the only motherfuckers who are like, you call this cold? I went swimming in lakes colder than this. But the terrain around Ilsabard, especially where Garlemald is founded, is pretty hard to live in.
Mm-hmm.
And pre the Empire being formed, oftentimes they were the ones being bullied by other nations.
Yeah. In fact, their actual first place that they actually resided before they moved to Ilsabard was the island city of Gog. Which Gog we can actually be able to go to in the Evil East storyline when we head into the Reader on Lighthouse. That's where they usually used to reside, but they were forced to abandon their home due to a massive cataract that opened in the ocean nearby, and that caused them to pretty much travel to Ilsabard, and then eventually became one of the ancestors for the Garlean Empire. But even like around like 50 years ago, you know, Garleans can't, like, they're the only type of race that can't wield magic, which is what caused, you know, so many of the other races to like pick on them.
Yeah, they were at a huge disadvantage, not being able to cast magic.
I think it's because of the third eye, right?
I think so. I don't know. The third eye has been described as like. Actually, do they go into this?
I don't know.
I know that the third eye doesn't really see like other eyes do. It is kind of like a sensory organ. It's kind of weird to call it an organ, but that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
You know how like the Owl Raw can hear with their horns, but it's through like reverberations? That's kind of what the third eye, it kind of is pretty sensitive to certain fluctuations. And I really don't know, like, trying to think. Maybe it goes into the races part. Oh, but I figured out the mystery behind blue gold. It's ceruleum, which is pretty much what marks of how they get their advantage.
Yeah, and even speaking on, the ceruleum part, the only reason why they were able to start, becoming such a republic was because the legatus, known as Solus Salscalvus, not sure how he got this type of knowledge, but he was able to do a technological revolution by discovering ceruleum, and that just shot technology for Garleans. Like, they build airships, they're able to use ceruleum, and it pretty much made them, in a blink of an eye, become one of the most strongest nations out of everything, because they got so technological advanced. And because of this, Solus Salscalvus was able to establish Garlemald as a world power within a single generation, with himself being the very first emperor, and began the campaign of conquering other nations such as Doma, Ala Mhigo, and even trying to get other places to be conquered.
Good night, Hachi.
Good night, Hachi.
Yeah, the technological power of Garlemald is very, very advanced compared to other places in the world. Though we have seen that in the past, civilizations like the Alig, they have risen to technological heights over time, but a lot of these secrets of technologies get buried with each calamity that happens to the world. The calamity that affected Alig, which was the earthquake calamity, God, what was it? The fifth umbral calamity? Mm-hmm. It was, I would say it was more devastating than the flood, because there's still some remnants. I don't know, it could be also that they had the earthquake and then the flood also came later on down too. So, but the earthquake was so damaging to Allegan society that it reverted pretty much everything to near prehistoric technology. We nearly went to just back to hunter-gatherer stage. I believe, as if I can remember history right, pretty much people went back to just crude technologies, and pretty much had to reinvent a lot of forging skills too. So yeah, even weaponry kind of became crude. And I think that's also why magic became a bit preferred around the 6th Astral era. And there's also something interesting I remember reading. I think this is actually maybe the 3rd or 4th calamity, but during the 1st and 2nd astrals, there's not really that much recordings of magic. A lot of people who lived in Heidelin hadn't quite figured out how magic even worked. It probably still existed in the world, but people hadn't figured out how to harness it. And even with practices such as black magic and white magic, black magic was definitely something that was experimented and tinkered with until it even came into existence. So even when they were able to harness the powers of fire to cast spells Fire 4, which is a huge explosion, to harness that much power and not just instantly kill yourself from all the magic you just used, had to be experimented with first. So, gosh, I went on a giant tangent about, ancient history and stuff like that, but going back to the Garleans, them coming up with this technology is quite a wonder, because most people in Eorzea and everywhere else across the world, they rely on magic to do a lot of their things. And I remember it having described, it's a really good post. I'm not sure if I found it off of Tumblr or Twitter one day. It was quite a long time ago, but somebody was discussing about how, it's kind of interesting that, even though Eorzea is mostly magic-based, they're not really much as the savages that Gaius paints them out to be. They have running water. They have even like hot water. But like instead of like filling up your bathtub with like a bunch of pipes and stuff, you go out and you buy your water crystals for the day at the market and then fill your bathtub up with water crystals or something. So like, cause like based off of what we could guess on, you know, the crafting system in this game, when we're taking out our little crystal shards or like a fire shard or ice shard, like we're releasing some bit of magic that's in that shard. So when we take out a water shard to do culinary things, what we're doing is we're filling a pot with a water shard, and then lighting the fire with a fire shard. So, but interesting concept about how magic actually took Eorzea to pretty far lengths where they do have modern comforts. But Magitech could take them even further. The Garleans still live a lot more progressive lifestyle as far as, like, having amenities and things like that. I mean, they have probably superior carting abilities, because with our air travel across Eorzea, it's been kind of, not always very reliable, and the time taken for it is also extensive. We're still using a lot of, like, sailboat technology too, hence why our journey to Kugane to the east takes months, you know, and Garlean airships are proven to be faster than Eorzean airships. The only thing that's giving us an advantage is that Cid is fueling us with a lot of airship technologies. He knew that the Garleans had the advantage over Eorzeans with that technology, so he came over here and be like, here, let me design a bunch of airship components and airship designs for you that will make it on par with the Empires. So we have Cid's genius brain to think to keep us, at least with our air travel, to be a little bit more on par with Garlemald. But, even still, like, getting imports and stuff is not so simple across Eorzea. A lot of that does have to do, though, with, Garlean blockades and Garlean takeovers. I know the interesting thing with Thavnair, because that gets mentioned a lot as a trade hub, and we still have yet to actually set foot there. But Thavnair is kind of like pretty much the Indian Silk Road trade going on. And the only reason why they've escaped Garlean takeover is because they've made a deal with them. They said that they will actively trade with Garlemald, making sure that they get the supplies that they need in from areas Garlemald know they can't reach. Pretty much, this is how Garlemald is getting some Eorzean exports, or is getting some stuff from other countries that they don't have. And it's mostly because Thavnair is like, look, you want access to this stuff? You need to keep us a free nation, because as soon as you take us over as a Garlean territory, we won't be getting any more exports of those in. Meanwhile, I think it's iffy about, you know, how the countries feel about this, because they know, you know, it's one way Garlemald is going to get some of their stuff. But they're also noting that that's a really important trade that they can't give up quite. So yeah, that's an interesting thing about Thavnair. They've been under the scrutiny of Garlemald, but they did not have to battle or even send one soldier to keep Garlemald from taking them over. They just simply made them a really good deal.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot to dissect with Garlean Empire.
Yeah. Pretty much the short story is Solos came in, unified a bunch of lands together, started expanding the empire, and then he died at the age of 88. This is where we're at now.
Yeah.
And then prominent figures, like Nail von Darnus, Gaius, even Livia, which, what was Livia? She was a Sauce, right?
Yeah.
She was Livia's Sauce. She was just one step below Nero, so she was just a little bit his junior. But, she was responsible for a lot of the, quelling of the resistance in Ivalice. And we're still kind of in a spot where Ivalice is having its own resistance, just as similar as Ala Mhigo is. But they're having a hard time because, again, they're only just one faction against this entire huge empire. And the Imperial Army is nothing to laugh at. Mm-hmm. So, but once they hear word about Ala Mhigo and Doma, they're thinking if we can get something, an alliance going, then that could be their ace to get Ivalice back. But as of this time right now where we're at, Ivalice is still under Garlean control, and Livia has a lot to do with quelling their resistance. She was very cutthroat and bloodthirsty, and pretty much is like the whole reason why Rabanastre is not even inhabitable anymore.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't just call a few people, she called an entire city. And it is still, it's still a ghost town to this day.
Kind of shows you the brutality of what Garleans will go to make sure that their empire is the strongest one of all. Like, they won't blink an eye to wipe out a race or a nation for their sake of being pure.
Yeah, their biggest strength is that they have absolute power over something when they get a hold of it. And then that's also their weakness, because then when they rule with an iron fist, they don't garner any favors. Most of the time they don't want to. They don't want any favors from the people they conquer, they just want, you know, what's expected from them. Oh boy. I mean, there's still so much to talk about the Empire, but I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at the social hierarchy page, and I'm like, I do not want a part of this.
It's crazy.
Like, if we end up going to Garlemald, then I have to remember what the heck a peer versus a gen is. Like, what the heck?
Right.
No.
Let's end the video by being in the Royal Menagerie. That place is really pretty.
The Royal Menagerie. Probably the one taste of the palace we'll ever get.
Yeah, probably.
I just want to go inside.
That's probably a good place to be at before we call it. But yeah, that's pretty much, you know, what we can pretty much showcase of Ala Mhigo, and a little bit of a little brief history of the Garlean Empire. When we actually do our Let's Play, they do show a lot more of what Garlean history is, and you actually experience it as well. But the Garleans are very complex types of people, types of races, and, you know, they started off as, you know, just a regular, you know, race that, you know, wasn't strong and couldn't really defend itself, and then just from one sheer invention it became something even more. And time will tell if, you know, if that's gonna, you know, keep them in power, or if it's actually gonna be their downfall. We don't know.
So it's funny because I was like, oh, maybe I can look up some information on Garleans in the, the race section, which is like, it's her children, Heidelin's children, but they're not included in this, and so it's just kind of like Heidelin's like, I love all of my children. They're like, what about Garleans? And she's just like, who?
They're like, Ishgard is really nice.
Heidelin loves this. Yeah, Heidelin loves all her children except Garleans.
Garleans.
She doesn't play favorites.
No, never. No.
This is actually a wonderful time of day to be up here, and it's not raining.
I know, right?
Skybox.
That's really pretty.
We always remark upon how the skyboxes in this game are amazing.
Kate doesn't care for the Garleans.
I don't care.
Understandable.
Kate is Heidelin.
Kate is Heidelin.
Yeah, I mean, Realm definitely has a lot of Garlean things, and it mostly showcases a lot about the military aspect of it all. But the truth is that we usually only get pieces and fractions of Garlean life at a time. And of course, we got some buddies. I mean, we got Sid and Lucia, maybe Nero. It's hard to count Nero as it's like Nero's our buddy, right? And he's just sitting over here like, I'll sell you all for one corn chip. Nero, I think he's coming around, especially after the Omega quest line. Like, he's in stages though.
Alright, well, that's pretty much our little stream of touring around Gyr Abania and a little bit of a brief history on the Garlean Empire. I hope you guys enjoyed this. The next time that we do our stream, we are actually going to go to the Far East, and we're actually going to see a little bit of the area of Hingashi, as well as the area of Yangxia, as well as the city-state of Doma. Probably one of my favorite little areas, but whatever. But we'll be exploring that, and then hopefully next week, the week after that, we could probably discuss more about kind of the origins of 1.0 that leads into our Let's Play. And hopefully,
1.0.
Yeah, 1.0 is a tour itself. And then hopefully on I believe the 13th of October, New Game Plus is going to have a Realm Reborn, and then hopefully by then we'll be able to start our Let's Play and actually really delve into the story. Yeah, and we'll finally get to see the story.
I'm actually going to do my research and not just ad-lib everything. This is just for fun. We're not trying to be professionals here.
Yeah, we're never said we're professionals.
Anyways, I'm gonna send a picture of that social hierarchy so everybody can suffer. This is ridiculous.
Alright. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to see you next week. And take it easy.
See ya.